Gong Xi Fa Chai and a very happy Chinese New Year to everybody who has been celebrating. Welcome to the Year of Snake, moving on from the Year of Dragon. So, January has been full of so many mock interviews. A lot of my clients are getting invitations, and that's great news. I'm quite cautiously optimistic about 2025. Let's see what the year has in store. And one of the things I am very particular about when people prepare for interviews is, of course, you tell me about yourself. You will have a link to how to prepare for that question here. But the other question is, why are you interested in this role? I think it's such an important question. It's a question you need to prepare, even if they don't ask this particular question. You need to find ways to let them know why are you interested in the role. So take your time and effort in crafting this answer really well. The good thing is it needs to be specific for each of the role. And once you nail it, it immediately differentiates you from 90% of the candidates. So in today's video, we will be walking through what all you need to cover for this particular question, how do you answer, how do you differentiate yourself from the others, and also a bonus tip on how you can integrate this answer and make sure they get your pointers even if they don't necessarily ask you this answer separately. Hi, my name is Shub Faujdar. I'm a Singapore-based job search strategist and a career coach and a former corporate recruiter. I'm also a LinkedIn top voice, so please do follow me there. And this YouTube channel releases new videos every week, two videos actually. One on Tuesday, which are nano micro tips, very actionable tips, less than 2 minutes. And then on Thursdays, we do a deep dive and explore something in a bit more detail. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. So why do you want this role is a very, very important question for people to assess your interest in the role. If they have 3-4 different candidates with similar level of competencies, companies tend to hire people who really want to work for the companies. So don't play hard to get here. You want to tell them exactly what interests you about this role. Now, what this question is not is, it's not about you to justify why you're suitable for the role. That's a different question. That's why should we hire you or what makes you a good candidate. But why are you interested in this role needs to be around what are you looking forward to when you get hired in this role, this company, and this industry. So these are the 3 specific parts which we will be covering in this particular answer. I like to do the funnel approach, which is you start with the bigger thing and then you move more and more and more specific to your reality. So the first part is industry. Now, if you are making a switch in industries, then this is something you have to include in your answer. If you're joining a new age industry, then you can include this in your answer. Again, don't talk very generic things. Oh, this is a new age industry. This is where the future lies, blah, blah, blah. Talk in specifics. Show some research you've done. So you could talk about in a recent article I read on New York Times, Wall Street Journal, whatever have you. The prediction is that e-commerce will rise to a $2 trillion industry in the coming future. That's where the future lies. Now you're being specific. You're quoting numbers. You're telling them what interests you. You could also add a personal anecdote. Recently, during a mock interview, somebody did it beautifully. So they were looking at joining a development finance institute, and they talked about how recently in the last year they've had experience where they've traveled during a sabbatical to a couple of developing countries, and they experienced firsthand the importance of infrastructure and taking care of climate, and they gave specific examples around it. And I thought that was beautiful because that instantly separates them from everybody else who's applying for that kind of role. So the first thing you want to be doing is talk about the industry, specifically if you are changing industry or you're moving into a completely new sector which is being developed. You need to show that you've done your level of research. The second part to that question is the company. Yes, the company. There is the role, which we will go into a lot of details, but it's also the company. Again, don't go generic. Oh, XYZ company is one of the leading FMCG conglomerate. Everybody knows that. Here, again, you show you are well researched. So talk about any big project or product you align with. You could also listen to interviews of management of those companies and in one line say, actually, while preparing for this interview, I listened to a few interviews of the CMO, CEO, CFO, Asia head, whatever. And these are the things which really appealed to me and I related to it. I also had a client recently during the mock interview who talked about this particular company's motto, the ABC. And this is pretty much what I have aligned with throughout my whole career. So you're building that personal connection with the company. And he talked about one of the interviews he read of the president of that particular business unit and what appealed to him. So when you're thinking company, think in specifics. What exactly about the company? If you can pitch any project, product, fantastic. Another thing which people miss out is if you've interacted with somebody from the company. So, for example, for my MBA students, if they've spoken to alumni from the company, I would always recommend them to mention about it, that I've spoken to a couple of people. You could drop names, at least the first names, and then say what your experience has been about the culture. Or if you're a more experienced person, you can talk about how you have people in your network who are working here and what has been the consistent feedback which stands out to you. And the last bit, which is actually very, very important, is role. Why is this role very interesting to you? Again, don't talk about this role actually builds on my skills. I can get the ball rolling. No. You want to talk about what specifically interests you about the role. In my understanding, this role gives me the opportunity to scale up a growing sector in the Asia Pacific region, and that's what I've always enjoyed doing in my role. So I want to be able to build that skill set. And one of the things which specifically interests me is the ability to learn. If there's something you can learn from this role, do mention it to them, because if you can do 100% of the role and salary is the only thing you're getting when you take this position, you are shortchanging yourself. So mention maybe one thing you may be learning from this particular position. And that is how you answer, why are you interested in the role? So bringing it all together, you would talk about the industry, especially if you are changing industry, moving to a new industry. Then you talk about the company, specifically connecting you to that company personally, either through the use of any products, or you've used the services, or you like any of the projects they've done. You've spoken to people there, you've heard interviews. Please do mention these things because it shows that you care. And the last one is the role. How does this role help you to grow in your career? What are the skills that can be leveraged, which you have always enjoyed doing, and what you look forward to when you join this particular role and company? And now, time for the bonus tip. Look, this question may not be asked during the interview separately. So I would already start pitching. Why are you interested in this position? Towards the end of tell me about yourself, that you talk about your experience, you bring it to light, and then say, as I'm thinking of moving in my career, I saw this particular position, or somebody approached me for this particular position, and I immediately got interested in it because of the company and the role. And you mention highlights of those things and see if they can ask you further questions around it. So I hope this helps you to craft this question. I think if people get the tell me about yourself and why are you interested in this role nailed down really well, you've won half the battle. If these questions are well answered, people get impressed, and then it becomes about just asking you a couple of behavioral-based questions to assess if you've already done these things in your past. So take the time to craft this answer, and I wish you all the best in your interviews in 2025. And do not forget to subscribe to this channel.